Good afternoon from paradise. We are back after a few days off here, and some things happened this weekend, which we'll
That's one
get
way to put
into.
it.
So some big momentum stuff, crazy shit happening this weekend. Holy smokes! We'll talk about how the Trump attempted assassination impacts markets. Why is the market rebounding? Right? It's interesting to see assassination attempts, and then all of a sudden we're majorly green. Is that the reason? Maybe there's a few reasons. And then we can look at the outlook for some of your favorite altcoins and meme coins. When are those going to pop off? Because I don't know if it's happening yet, but I think it's going to happen here soon. So yeah, guys, I'd love to get your take. I don't know where you were when you saw the news or what. My phone was like blowing up. I couldn't believe it at first. It was like that was my first reaction. Like, no way. Like, six. One of my boys like we think it was a BB gun or some shit. So I don't know where you guys were, and then what are your thoughts on how does it affect the markets here going forward?
Nick, you
Well,
go first.
I figured you'd jump in, but yeah, I mean, I was at home in front of the computer looking at crypto charts like normal, and then I started seeing some of the things pop up. I think maybe it was Mario Newfall or Yvonne from ArcX sent me the first video, like just a clip, because I wasn't watching the actual event itself. So I just got some clips, and then once you start to see the full clip of the shooting, you're like, no, that's real. And I kind of noticed that he reached up for his ear, so it's pretty crazy. Thankfully, he wasn't assassinated no matter which side of the aisle you're on or who you're going to vote for. You don't want to see assassination attempts on your political leaders in your country. It's not a good look for the country on the global front. So that's a good thing that it did miss. If anything, it probably did rally the Republican Party and kind of the outlook for Trump winning the election. Now, I'll let Nate talk a little bit about how it affected the markets in the immediate time horizon, and I'll talk about some of the other things that affected the market. Well, we saw that Germany sold all 50,000 of their Bitcoin rapidly in a 2 to 3 week window. They are now out of Bitcoin. I think the final number was they sold for an average
I
of
think we lost Nick
around
there first.
they sold for an average of around $55,000 per Bitcoin, and now Bitcoin has rallied here today to $63,000. So big rally now that I think that pressure, that selling pressure, constant selling pressure is now over, and the Bitcoin spot ETFs in America bought $1 billion worth of positive inflows in that same time period. So people are still buying. We just had Larry Fink on CNBC this morning talking about Bitcoin as a flight to quality. And I'm sure there will be some other selling pressures, but the outlook is still positive in my view for 100,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it's a great example of buying the dip. Look how quickly we rebounded from, we went all the way down to, the 53,000 in the height of the, kind of FUD sell-off with, Germany liquidating 50,000 Bitcoins and the Mt. Gox FUD that was going on. Both of those are now finished. Mt. Gox has got delayed for, significantly in the future, whatever that means. And Bitcoin and Germany's out of Bitcoin, which is going to be looked back in years in the future as one of the stupidest moves by Germany since World War II. So I think a combination of that, the Trump thing affect the markets. I certainly think it was one of many factors that are pushing things up here. I think a lot of people look at this as what happened on Saturday as solidifying him as the candidate for president, saying it's going to be hard to see anybody else winning the election after his response and how that handled just the overall sentiment of what went down. So I think it could be a number of factors there. Like Nick was saying, while Germany was selling, everybody else was slurping. All the ETFs were just buying. It was an amazing opportunity for them. I'm sure they were licking their chops all week last week as Germany was, continuing to suppress the price and get them, fantastic buy-in opportunities. So, yeah, a lot of things combined to push the markets down. And I think how quickly things have rebounded. We're up 10K in a couple days. Just goes to show that we are. If there's any doubters and haters out there saying that we're not in a bull market, I mean, there's really nothing we can do for you at this point. I don't know what else to tell you. So I think we're going to continue to see this, steady climb back up to where we were pre-halving, just in time for the real pump to start, mid to late August as we move towards the inevitability of a rate cut. So, yeah, I mean, all systems go. If you got any dry powder, now might be a great time to start looking at allocating into some of those high conviction plays that you've had sitting on the side.
Last week was probably that time, realistically, but it's hard to
True.
buy tips sometimes. But we've been
Yeah.
talking about how the Germany situation was inevitably going to resolve itself because they were going to run out of Bitcoin, and they did. And by the way, so the Germany thing, I read a little bit more into it. apparently it was a specific state within that country called Saxony. They have a law which says when they confiscate whatever money or whatever it is, they have to sell it off like an ASAP or whatever. So it's not really, it wasn't like a decision from the high ups, like, oh, like dump the tokens, like whatever. It was a law they had to follow. But whatever. The point is it's over. And of course, you see the price rebounding. I want to talk about the ETFs a bit, because digging into that is also interesting. When you research a bit who has been buying a lot of the Bitcoin ETFs thus far, and I guess particularly last week as well, it was a lot of retail people buying through the ETF. So we're actually not seeing yet the full sort of catalyst of the ETFs come to fruition yet, which is where institutions will be buying it. There has been some institutions buying through these ETFs as well, but it's been a lot of retail. Apparently what's happening is the institutions, they're gearing up. They want to do it, but there's a lot of check marks and due diligence and, processes that they need to go through before like a pension fund or some other,
Right.
big institutional player can get in to Bitcoin ETF. So that catalyst, yeah, it's there and it's happening and it's great to see those inflows, but apparently a lot of it is retail driven, but through the ETF, which I guess I look at that in a bullish way. Maybe some people less bullish, but I think it's a positive because it just means that these true institutional players, the pension funds, et cetera, they're still yet to come on board. And I think they're going to be coming on board soon, hopefully pairing up with this interest rate cut, hopefully in September. Do you guys hear about that, about the ETF buyers of late?
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing that we've been saying is like everybody's like, oh, BlackRock now owns 1% of the supply. That's not bullish. It's like BlackRock doesn't own that. That's made up of thousands of individual investors that now have access to Bitcoin because they have a trust fund or they have 401ks or whatever, and they're delegating a percentage of it to Bitcoin. So that goes right in line with what you're saying about retail. Crypto retail that we know it is way different than the Web2 retail. Web2 retail is just people that don't want to figure out Coinbase, don't want to figure out MetaMask, but they have a percentage of their portfolio probably in precious metals, and now their financial advisor is telling them, hey, you probably should put 1 to 5% of your portfolio also in Bitcoin as a hedge against the market for a positive outlook and a positive delta for your portfolio moving forward. So that's why when people say, oh, BlackRock owns too much, we're losing the point here in Bitcoin. Guys, there's thousands upon thousands of people for each one of these ETFs that makes up that big overall AUM. That AUM just means it's being custodized and supported by BlackRock and Coinbase. It doesn't mean they actually own all those tokens. They still have the IOU on these Charles Schwab accounts, Fidelity accounts, or wherever the funds are being managed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest wild card, in my opinion, for these big ETFs is what happens when retail investors experience their first bear market, their first downside in a cycle. For all of us, we understand what the 4-year cycle is. We understand how the ebbs and flows and how the halving affects the price of Bitcoin. What's going to happen when all these retail people that don't understand the halving see the price of Bitcoin going down? Are they going to be long-term holders? Traditionally, these type of 401k retirement funds, they're very long term. They do some rebalancing, but how much do they understand crypto, the 4-year cycle, et cetera? Are they going to panic sell? And are we going to see an even more drastic, or is that going to be one of their big catalysts that pushes Bitcoin down during the bear market? Or are we going to see the opposite effect as we're getting these, higher quality, I guess, retail type investors that are coming into the ETFs and these institutions that are going to come into the ETFs? Are they going to help provide a stable price floor for Bitcoin as we go into a bear market and we see a less severe bear market in the future? To me, that's one of the biggest questions that we have yet to see to be answered. And I think could be something that could be a real game changer for these ETFs coming into our market that we don't have an answer for yet.
Yeah, I think it was a good start that we saw during the sell-off, from 73,000 down to 53,000. Mt. Gox giving tokens out, Germany selling billions of tokens, that we still had 1 billion in new inflows, that people weren't getting panicked, or the financial advisors already put the wheels in motion and they were taking advantage of the clients already approving that they want the Bitcoin ETF to buy the dip, looking obviously for outperformance moving forward. And like you said, that's why I've been saying that this could be the longest Bitcoin and crypto bull market in history, because there is that possibility that with ETF inflows, with institutions, with nation states now getting involved in crypto, that the 4-year cycle breaks, and it breaks in a positive direction due to the deflationary mechanisms of a lot of these cryptos and the set amount of tokens of a lot of these cryptos. Now, there's no guarantee that happens, but I've been one that is leaning on the side of bullishness and saying that is a possibility. When the gold ETF was approved, it went on a decade-long bull run, straight up and to the right for 10 years straight. Does that happen again with Bitcoin? I don't know. Institutions are treating Bitcoin ETF and Bitcoin as an investment just like they did gold. They're just saying it's digital gold. So if they put it into the portfolios, they want you to have 1 to 5% of it, and it's a long-term play, like you said. What happens? There's only 21 million Bitcoin to go around.
Well, I'm glad I got
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
supply myself because, yeah, in 10 years, I think we're gonna be looking back and, Germany, wow, I can't believe you sold at 55K. And this shit's sitting at a million, so it'll be fun looking back. But, yeah, it's early days with the ETFs. I do want to talk a little bit about alts right now because, I think some people are probably expecting, Bitcoin going to rebound here at some point, Ethereum probably going to rebound as the ETH ETF is likely going to come out in the next week or two here as well. What's happening with alts. I think some are up. The majors are up. Some of your favorite memes are not. Some maybe are. I don't know. But in my experience, what often happens when Bitcoin starts to go on a run after it's been down a bit, a lot of capital gets sucked towards Bitcoin or towards ETH that's running up, and then alts suffer a little bit until that Bitcoin or ETH, whatever, cools off, and then money flows back down. Is that your guys' take? What's happening with alts right now? What are your thoughts on alts? When is alt season going to happen?
Well, right now, what's moving is kind of the large and mid caps. So we do see Bitcoin up about 5%, Ethereum up about 5%. But what people are forgetting again is BNB already went to a new all-time high. It's sucked down like Bitcoin, but now it's outperforming, up 7 and 8%, outperforming both Bitcoin and Ethereum here. And with that, you're seeing the large caps on BNB outperform as well. Cake is up double digits, Floki's up 15%, and 38% off the lows. Token and Fi is up 9%. And that's the liquidity pool and the nature of liquidity pools that we've talked about. Now, I've been saying I think alt season happens after the ETH ETF spot inflows start because Ethereum is going to catch a bid. When Ethereum catches a bid, that's when speculation happens for the alts. And also, they're paired with Ethereum, so it's going to get dragged higher. So since we're seeing outperformance in BNB, it's dragging a lot of the majors altcoins on the BSC network higher. That's why we're seeing outperformance, double-digit gains out of Cake, Floki, Token. But some of our favorite memes on Base Chain, on Ethereum, smaller cap coins right now, I'm with you. We're not seeing that yet. We're actually seeing a little bit of a downtick while the market is trying to turn green here. But I think their time comes. I think we're still waiting for that Ethereum spot ETF and the inflows, which everybody's saying is going to happen in July. I said I thought it would happen before the 15th of July. Well, that's today. We got the RNC today, so I doubt they make that news. But next couple weeks, hopefully we get the ETH ETF inflows starting, and that's where the real alt season begins, in my opinion.
Yeah, until we see, the cycle broken where we, majors, Bitcoin majors and flows down to the mid caps. I think we, stick with that as the, the pattern that we know works. And right now we're seeing the majors start to run. Nick mentioned a bunch of tokens that are up right now. I know some others like Chainlink are up, almost 30% off the lows from 10 days ago. And with all the memes, I agree. I don't think that meme the almost 2 year long meme season is dead. Memes are still hanging around. They haven't died. A lot of them dipped like all the other alts did, but the sentiment is still around memes in the retail market. That hasn't died. We haven't had a catalyst to bring money back into pre-sales, money back into a lot of the smaller alts, especially if they're not in a hype trend like AI or something like that. So when we do get the ETFs approved and the mid cap and low cap alts start pumping, I think the memes continue to take a huge portion of that liquidity and volume on the charts that would normally be into to the rest of the alts. So be careful with when you're picking your alts. I don't necessarily think we're going to see, at least in the short term here, a return to alt mania like we have in the past when the low caps start pumping. I think they're still fighting memes. So if you haven't gotten into how to get started with meme coins, now might be a time to familiarize yourself with that part of the industry, because we're going to continue to see insane amounts of gains in that sector.
Yeah, memes are interesting right now, and I completely agree with everything you guys said. You see the big caps run first, then to the mid, and then it'll go down to the low caps, including memes. Memes are interesting because they're so sort of narrative driven and time specific and event specific. You saw a phenomenon happen this weekend where Trump, obviously, assassination attempt happens, and then there's like 20 memes based on that. There was one called
minutes.
Yeah, which like ran up like crazy, and there was probably 4 or 5 others that did very well. I don't know all of them, but what happens, I think, in those scenarios is a lot of liquidity gets sucked from other memes into these like very trend driven memes. And you see maybe some weakness in your favorite memes as people run over to invest in Trump's year or whatever the case was. But those, just by their very nature, are short lived. I don't think those are going to last more than a couple weeks, just because there'll be a new news. In fact, he's going to announce his vice president in about an hour from now when we were us recording this. And I'm sure there'll be 20 more memes about the vice president pick at that time. So you got to be a little careful with those. I'm not a big advocate of chasing those trend driven things. I think that's a tough game to win, in my opinion. But ultimately, I think you did see that a little bit this weekend, where some of the memes I'm in, you saw some sell pressure. I'm guessing a lot of those people selling to buy these Trump ones. But hey, that's the nature of the meme game. Yeah, overall, I think you're going to see Bitcoin, Ethereum outperform here, maybe some of the majors, and then eventually money is going to trickle down to lower caps.
Another thing that's contributing to all of this is the strength of the U.S. dollar is down at the moment, and you were starting to see continued correlation when the dollar goes down. Bitcoin typically pumps. So if that trend continues, that is usually one more in a long list of catalysts pushing us towards new all-time highs here later this year.
Yep, really, that's just a function of if the dollar, perceived value of the dollar is down, then hard assets, the perceived value of those goes higher in dollar terms. That's what happens with collectibles, the shoe games, and Bitcoins. Hard asset, if dollar isn't worth something, people are looking for something that is maintaining or going up in value, and that's going to be collectibles, precious metals, hard assets, which Bitcoin falls into.
You're going to see here so it's July 15th now, and this is being recorded. I think come mid-August, we're going to have a few more CPI or PCE readings come out. We'll have a bit more guidance from the Fed, but the most recent stuff as of last week was basically the labor market is suffering a bit here, and inflation is well under control. And Powell essentially saying the effect of, well, we're starting to think about rate cuts. And my prediction has been September rate cut. Wall Street agrees with me. It's now, I think, over 75% chance. Wall Street is saying that we get a September rate cut. We're really not that far from September, guys. I can't wait. Football season, rate cuts. I can't wait. But, I think it feels like the Germany thing was that moment that, you feel like shit. It was that kind of that moment of despair within the bull market. And then we own that bear trap, right? And then we're going to go higher here. And it seems to be that's what's happening.
Yeah,
September is also.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll say September is also conference season out in Asia. Some of the biggest conferences of the year, not just in Asia, but worldwide, start around that time. There's always a lot of bullish activity and sentiment going on there. Projects are pulling out all the stops with, things are doing side parties and stuff at these conferences, gets them a lot of exposure, a lot of marketing opportunities. And we've seen what happens in tandem with these conferences during a bull run. So there is, Korean Blockchain Week. There's CoinFest in Bali, the biggest of them all, being token in Singapore. So a lot going on there around that exact same time. So again, we'll just adding more to the list of positive events coming up in the next few months here.
Yep, I was just going to say we got Bitcoin 2024 coming, and it's really interesting to see big names on that. Michael Saylor, Donald Trump, RFK Jr. So politics is going to continue to play a role. That's going to be a continued catalyst here. And I think another thing is we haven't heard about Michael Dell yet. Has he bought? Has he bought with Dell? Michael Dell is the CEO of Dell, one of the largest companies in publicly traded companies in the United States. Everybody knows Dell. You probably use a Dell computer right now. Who knows? But anyways, he's been very bullish on Bitcoin. He even commented on Larry Fink's comments about Bitcoin saying, interesting. Why is this interesting? Michael Dell dwarfs a lot of the wealth of, say, Michael Saylor, for example. Dwarfs it. Not to mention that Dell as a company, as of April 30th, 2024, had $10.4 billion in cash on hand. That is cash that the company is holding in US dollars, doesn't know where to put it to invest in order to make a return on shareholders' investments. Does he follow the likes of MicroStrategy and some of these other companies and put Bitcoin on the balance sheet? And how much of that $10.4 billion does he buy of Bitcoin? Regardless, look what the impact of Germany was of selling 2.5 billion. That would be less than 25% of the cash on hand of this one singular company. And if a big company like Dell does it, that a lot of the other large companies probably will follow suit.
Love it. A little speculation there to end the session, guys. Do you have any final thoughts? I know we're bullish.
Yeah.
I know things are feeling good. Any final thoughts here?
Yeah, a couple quick things to hype before we go. Speaking of Bitcoin Nashville, myself and Crypto Hitman are going to be in attendance. We're going to be there for Crypto Paradise. We're going to be talking to projects for TDI for advisory work. We're going to be there to help support our parent company, Ferrum Network. They've got a massive booth there. We have a cool lounge area, so you come hang out with us and learn more about what Ferrum's doing in the Bitcoin Fi or BTC Fi ecosystem. It is going to be a fantastic conference, as Nick mentioned, or as the Hitman mentioned. You've got Donald Trump, I believe, still speaking there. Russell Brand speaking, Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood, RFK, like all the biggest names in politics in crypto are going to be there speaking. It's going to be an awesome event. So if you're in the area and you want to stop by, be sure to hit us up in the Telegram group. We'd love to meet you guys. Along with that, we've got a couple giveaways going right now that we should show as well.
Of course.
Ian, which one is? We've got
Oh,
the
go.
HODL. I'll let you know more details than I do on that one. I'll let you talk about the giveaway right now.
Yeah, sorry, a little delay on our end, but yeah, we have our standing giveaway of free nights in the Paradise Pad. People got to hit us up for that. You're more than welcome to come out, visit Tulum. Beautiful spot. We were there a few weeks ago, so you guys can win that anytime. But the other two giveaways we got going on is our Strong Hands giveaway. And how that works is you hodl an asset. We call an asset, right? So we did it for Kaiken, which is a meme on ETH first. And then we did it, I believe we made an announcement last week for another one called Mellow Man. Both are up like 10x from our calls. So in any event, have done very well and will continue to do well, I believe. But all you do is buy it a certain amount, right? Doesn't matter how much. And you hodl for at least 30 days. And then you're in the winning in the drawing, I should say, to win 500 extra in that token. So we're going to be giving out 500 in Kaiken and 500 Mellow Man in the beginning of August. And if you guys have any suggestions on any assets to do it for next, hit us up in the comments below.
Yep.
What an easier way. What an easier way to win 500K. We're not asking you to go like and retweet and tag 7 people and do some Galaxy campaign. Buy, hold, done. Easy. Only at Crypto Paradise.
Those are the best kind of giveaways right there. And guys, just a reminder, I know we're bullish, but if Bitcoin gives you another dip, right now you have the FOMO bug, you're complaining you didn't buy a dip. If Bitcoin gives you another dip below that previous low, you got to be buying, because you got to remember these opportunities. You got to remember the feeling of FOMO you have right now and the outlook that we're telling you is going to happen. Now, I'm not 100% of predictions, but I'm telling you Bitcoin is going to be higher than it is today in the future. So if you get a dip, think of it as a blessing, get to work, try to scrounge up some cash, and add Bitcoin to the portfolio.
Love it. Two big news, by the way, before we bounce off. It looks like, and this is, I don't know if this is confirmed across everywhere, but Eth Etf apparently going to be going live next Tuesday.
Well, that's
That
big
was
news.
apparently just
Nice.
announced, and it looks
Breaking it right here on Crypto Paradise.
yeah, and then I'm seeing some rumors about JD Vance as the vice president for Donald Trump. So two big piece of news. We'll see if that's all verified here after we jump off the recording. But you look up for a second and some big news dropping here, folks. So pretty fun. Good stuff, guys. Well, thank you so much. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and we will see you on the beach.